Hello, everybody. Welcome to this post-divisional round edition of the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined by Pat Kerrane and Kyle Dvorchak. We are going to recap the entire second round of the NFL playoffs, including Chiefs, Jaguars, Eagles, Giants, Bengals, Bills, and, of course, 49ers, Cowboys. The game we just got finished watching, and a lot going on here. As usual, even though the result was not surprising, a narrow home 49ers victory that probably could have been larger if they could just ever be aggressive. I'm just kind of freelancing already. I don't know if anyone else even agrees with that take. But just a lot of weird micro stuff in this game. Elijah Mitchell going out of bounds at the end of the game. The Cowboys, for the second season in a row, calling the worst play in franchise history to end their season with an Ezekiel Elliott direct snap to Dak Prescott, who then he threw a hospital ball to Turpin.
Yeah.
Turpin?
They needed Zeke in center. So
he's the kick returner, punt return. He's really good at kicking punt returns.
It's the worst play I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I think Dak
was like a parody of a play.
I don't know if it was Eric Armstead or whoever the defensive line was. He killed Zeke. He bullied Zeke like
Chandler Jones
did.
He blocked him back 4 yards immediately.
And I think Dak just was not prepared for such even if Zeke just goes low,
he should have been prepared. Zeke was at center.
Yeah, I know. I think he was just
happening,
completely frazzled. He dumps, like you said, Turpin got speared. Yeah. Back in my day, they called that spearing, and it was also legal still, to be clear. In fact, it was promoted. But man, he got crushed. And it's so funny. You always see these last lateral type of plays end on a fumble recovery touchdown or a fumble or a guy goes out of bounds. Just a straight up really hard tackle is a very mundane play to happen in the second quarter, or a mundane ending to a play. To see it end like that, where he just gets blown up after the start of the play. Oh man, it makes the Dak slide look like nothing. It was chef's kiss McCarthy.
We were talking about the Dak slide last year where he slid in bounds and ended the game.
This is clear to make sure that people know what we're talking about, to end their season in the wild card round last year.
And it was ending their game when they were down. So you're not trying to end the game.
Yeah, no. What was the worst play? I think the Dak slide had to be worse.
The Dak slide was worse because this.
Wait, in what sense? Because this was the worst design. Dude, we were just Ezekiel Elliott took a snap at center.
Well, this was worse execution, I think, because there's a chance that Turpin then laterals it or something. But I mean, this was sillier.
I'll say this play was the classic. You come out with this crazy formation because it's true desperation time. They had to go 60 or 65 yards, maybe even 70 yards. It was
60 or something.
They needed a miracle. So you come out with this crazy formation, but then when the 49ers call a timeout, that's when you come out with a different play.
Yes, exactly.
The 49ers they're going to do something weird. And they got their ducks in a row.
Right.
You have to have a second play then, which sucks because that was clearly the play. But
was it though? I mean,
no,
they got bailed out. They got bailed out by going to another play. Any other play would have been better than that play.
They needed to come out with a different play after the Niners called a timeout, and they didn't.
This was as bad, as goofy, but also terribly designed and easily countered as the Colts completely
say his name. Kyle, do you remember his name? Say his name.
No, I have no clue who it was.
Put some respect on Griff Whalen's name.
Oh, you're right. It was Griff Whalen. I actually do remember that. Griff Whalen, whatever fake punt nonsense that was.
That actually still is the worst play in the history of the NFL. And it was on Sunday Night Football on NBC. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And Chris Collinsworth was like, "What in the world?" And he was just dumb. Guys been around the NFL for 50 years. And it was just truly dumbfounded by Chuck Pagano. And that was another thing. They were playing the Patriots. The Patriots immediately called timeout when they saw Griff Whalen taking a snap, and then they ran it back with Griff Whalen taking the snap. And I think what even happened? I think it was a sack.
They almost, if I remember correctly, he basically wasn't almost ready for the snap, and once he got it, he realized how dead it was. And
I don't remember who took the snap, but whoever took the snap was under center. At least Dak took a shotgun snap from Zeke against the 49ers tonight.
That's fair, yeah.
I really think that it's a red flag in terms of decision making, because think about reality versus what could have been, right? They show this crazy play, both for Pagano and for McCarthy here. They show this crazy play. The other team calls a timeout. So you've sort of gotten something out of it. Now you have two choices. You can either change your play and then have that crazy play kind of live in the imagination of the NFL fan base. And you get to kind of be like, yeah, well, I don't know, maybe we should have stuck with it like it would have worked. Or you expose your crazy play as absolutely terrible, which it almost certainly will be. So it's just kind of, I mean, the risk reward is just, you're not thinking through it here, McCarthy.
We saw so much. What did you guys think? I mean, I think I know what you're going to say. What did you think of the Cowboys punt with like 2:10 remaining, all three of their time? What did you think of the punt?
Cowardly.
Yeah, I actually think they should have punted because of how truly horrendous they looked on that drive. And I also think you can always rely on Kyle Shanahan to turtle, which he did. In his defense, it was after they got a first down, but Elijah Mitchell
didn't.
They got two first downs, right?
They got the passing went out of bounds,
then the rushing first down.
First downs,
I'm down to blame Kyle for stuff, but I don't think he turtled.
He did. I mean, he still. To me, I was watching that game, and I was like, we actually need to get rid of the mindset, especially when you're a really well-designed offense. I think we need to get rid of the mindset where the only thing that matters is getting the other team to burn their timeouts and burn the time, because you know what actually ends the game is you getting several first downs. And you've been having success passing the ball all night somehow with this man named Brock Purdy. And maybe just like put it in I mean, you've got George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, get some yak. Like, just don't. So I agree. They deserve a little credit where they got the 2 first downs. But then with a minute and a half left, with the Cowboys still having 2 timeouts, they did do the full turtle then. And I was just like, why? Like, just throw the ball to George Kittle and let him run over 3 people.
To be clear on the 4th down decision, I think like far and away the most likely outcome is that they would not have converted that 4th down and they would have lost the game.
Because the game was over because the 49ers were already in field goal range, which I was too cowardly to tweet it because I didn't want to be condemned, but I actually did think the Cowboys should punt.
I get it for sure. But the alternate view is like the best case scenario in a sense is what happened, not the absolute best case
That's
scenario.
True.
But one of the good scenarios is what played out, and it was like hopeless.
It was a complete loss. Exactly. The game was, you've got 40 seconds, no timeouts, and the trick up your sleeve is Ezekiel Elliott as your center. That is going to be a losing strategy. And that was like Kerrane said, nearly the best case scenario. They got, they technically got 2 first downs, but one was killed by the 2 minute and one was an out of bounds. So it wasn't the function of the first down. So that's a good point, Kerrane, is that's essentially a win for the drive.
Actually is a really, really, I wasn't thinking of it that way.
Like,
what do you win when you win?
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
40 seconds, no timeouts, and you're at your 6.
Yards.
That's what you win. So face down the fact that you're almost certainly going to lose the game and go for it, I would say. But you're going to get killed if you do. So I do kind of get it, but I think it's a little cowardly.
I just didn't think they were going to get to 10 yards, and they're already down.
I don't either.
The game is over. Yeah.
I don't
Man,
either.
there was so much weird stuff that happened at the end of this game. Elijah Mitchell, again, running out of bounds. Marion barbering it. Look it up if you don't remember. Humongous mental mistake. The kind of thing that could get him less playing time, I feel like, in the NFC Championship game. You have Dalton Schultz going out of bounds, but doing it in the wrong direction. And
he reverted to college. He
did.
You're talking about the play before that. Sorry.
Not the catch play.
That rule works
another
that way
weird
in college
Dalton Schultz
too.
play.
I haven't thought about that. Yeah, the thing
true.
Pat's describing is that you have to be going forward when you go out of bounds for it to stop the clock. And Dalton Schultz kind of like is going horizontal, then
gave
gets
himself
hit.
Kudos to Greg Olson, by the way, on that call, immediately pointing out what was happening.
Well, because I was telling you guys
too.
before the show,
It seemed like the defender knew because immediately he starts
knew.
telling the ref. So
and the Cowboys knew. The Cowboys didn't complain about the call. But yeah, we're saying before the show, I think Greg Olson was the first announcer, like in the history of football announcing, to on the fly actually explain that rule. So I just feel like the announcers are totally baffled. Like, I thought he went out of bounds, Tony. They're like panicked in the booth, like, what's going on here? And Greg Olson's like, oh, no, actually, there's this rule.
There's a whole rule about this.
Yeah,
in fact, there's a book full of rules about this game.
And he explained it. Yeah, Dalton Schultz. Rough couple of minutes there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Dalton Schultz then not getting 2 feet in bounds, a much less obscure rule. A very common rule.
Everything looks easy in slow motion, but pretty sure he could have tapped that toe.
Tapped it a couple times.
Yeah.
As someone As someone who's counting on scam PPR Dalton Schultz points in DFS, Dalton, my man's.
I know.
Please.
And I think the weirdest play still was Dak basically like, well, I'm going to take this sack in the end zone.
Yeah, he looked confused. He bounced off the guy, and I looked back at him like, weren't you going to sack me? Okay, fine. And then threw the ball. It was weird.
The Cowboys,
the whole thing.
They just need to consider doing something normally. I mean, the 49ers don't do anything normally either, and that is their latest thing is becoming an offensive juggernaut with Brock Purdy, who I believe they were averaging coming into tonight 34 points per game in 7 Brock Purdy starts. How is that real? But have been a total offensive juggernaut with Brock Purdy, despite I still don't think he looks good, Kerrane, but you said all of a sudden you're Purdy pilled.
I'm in.
What's going on here? What's going on here? You sure?
He's good. Purdy's good.
Tell me why.
That's all. The whole take. Because he faced a good defense. They actually pressured him, and he was fine. And he did some cool stuff. Like he had some nice improvisational plays. That one where he hit Kittle was like kind of breaking the rules. You're not supposed to do that, as Olsen was pointing out, throwing back across the middle of the field. Well, guess what? You can't if you're Brock Purdy, because that's what Brock Purdy does. He hits George Kittle. He's dialed in on Kittle. I don't know, man. He when he throws it, it looks good. It's accurate. It goes where it's supposed to go. He doesn't seem he's unflappable. I'm buying the unflappable narrative.
He is
on Purdy.
No, it actually is
nice
true.
Little sidearm pass to McCaffrey too, because he couldn't throw a regular pass. There was a defender in his face. Cute little side armor to McCaffrey. I've been in Purdy for 2 more games than you, Kerrane. Welcome to the club. It's a fun one to be in.
I was a little skeptical because he hadn't played any defenses, but this qualifies. This is a real defense that he looked pretty good against. I mean, they weren't putting up a ton of points, but
they also
this is fine.
This to me seemed like sort of the random end of the spectrum in that they were moving the ball pretty well throughout the game.
Yeah.
Just Robbie Gould got his paycheck this game.
He did. Boy, did he ever. He did me a real solid in my Boomer points only league that goes to the Super Bowl that you're not allowed to make fun of. I'm not. This is not pretty, by the way. It's actually real.
I know it's real. I wouldn't be upset if you were joking.
I think we've talked about too. The biggest difference between Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo is that when the play does break down, as it will do, and against an elite defense like Dallas and an even better defense like the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, is that he does improvise. He does not wilt. He can just think on the fly, which is not a common skill, even amongst most NFL quarterbacks. When the play breaks down, it's just so hard to have that playmaker brain. And even though he's not what we think of as a playmaker's body, he definitely has playmaker brain. And it's been a humongous upgrade for the 49ers in that regard.
He's done there was I think a 3rd and 2 that he didn't pick up. He kind of scrambled around and he threw the ball out of bounds. And it crossed my mind that's kind of what Jimmy does for them. He tends to pick up that type of stuff at a really high rate. It's kind of confounding how he does it because he looks so bad to me, but he does do it.
Computers love him.
Yeah, but Purdy, the computers love Purdy too, and I think you're trading away a little bit of that, but you're getting some improvisational playmaking and just not really any of the boneheaded stuff that we've seen from Jimmy really.
No, it's crazy. He makes way fewer mistakes than he's had some bad. I mean, he's had some
bad throws for sure.
He's had an abnormal amount of interceptions not caught. He really has. He really
1 or 2 in this game too.
He really
has. He had a bad one drop, a real bad one here.
But like I said, I think I was on Thursday show. I dropped basically just be my skeletal remains after the 49ers 72nd straight Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. I'm the other shoe's about to drop. I'm telling you, man, this guy's not going to keep it up. And his great innovation, as you kind of hinted to, by the way, is remembering George Kittle exists. That's been huge.
Because he hit him on that crazy catch that Kittle made. Kittle was not even really running a route. He just came back. He's I know Kittle is basically freed up from his block.
He was also not really catching a ball and then still caught it. Yeah. Are you talking about that play where he juggled the ball
because it wasn't a great throw by Purdy and he had to make a one-handed spectacular catch. But I like the idea that he was oh yeah, Kittle is a great receiver and he's probably available in the middle of the field. And he went back to him. Jimmy never would have thought about that. It would have been schemed up. You got to scheme up every Kittle target for Jimmy.
We'll talk about this a little more in the Eagles section of the show and a lot more on Thursday when we preview the championship games without Patrick Kerrane, who will be scuba diving in Indonesia. But right?
That's correct.
That is correct. What was I going to say? What was I going to? Oh, yeah. The Eagles, Brock Purdy. This can be by far the biggest test. I mean, the Cowboys are a really big test. Micah Parsons,
a really big test.
Micah Parsons had a game too. Yeah. We'll get to the Eagles in a minute, but I ranked the Eagles as number one in my playoff team rankings, and let's just say I was not dissuaded from that ranking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys: are the Eagles now the favorite to win?
I really did. Thankfully, I'm on the record. I thought they were the favorite before, and I really, really think they're the favorite now. They can just win so many different. I think that's what it comes back to, is that cliche, is they can win so many different ways. They can win with their passing game.
If he's dealing with a high ankle sprain, I mean, I don't know how much. If he makes it to the Super Bowl, then I guess maybe the injury wasn't that bad, and then he'll have another couple weeks to recover. But that's obviously a major concern if he's not healthy. And then they're so much stronger on the offensive line than the Bengals. So
yeah, Bengals line held up really well. Was that earlier today? They held up really well earlier today, but man, I would be concerned that that's a performance they can repeat again one more time, then one time after that, especially against the Eagles pass rush.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Eagles in a minute. Before we move on from this game, the Cowboys. Dak Prescott. The narratives have gotten so confusing on Dak Prescott. Is he the most overrated player in the league? Is he the most underrated player in the league? Is he the most properly rated player in the league? Had a very, very poor game in San Francisco.
Yeah, he was bad.
He was just bad. He threw the ball directly to linebackers once again, like several times. In winning time, just two really, really awful drives. It's not all the quarterback's fault, but is Dak Prescott? Is he still good enough to win a Super Bowl? The Cowboys ever even make an NFC Championship game with this guy? Like, if they got Sean Payton, could the Super Bowl be in Dak Prescott's future? I feel like he's probably still good enough to reach a Super Bowl with, but
I think so too. We just talked about him. Brock Purdy's got a pretty decent chance to make a Super Bowl. I do think though that McCarthy, and I don't think they're going to fire him right now, like this offseason. I think Jerry Jones has already said, obviously it could change, but he did say like a week ago that they're not firing him. Man, this offense, something needs to change. Like, they have potential, but like opening every other drive on 2nd and 11 because you have to get Zeke his 12th touch of the first quarter. Like, man, it is brutal. And then just the overall balance with which they play throughout the game, whether they're up or down. I think they're a pretty poorly schemed team for a team that has a ton of talent. So, I don't know. I think that would be one major change. I don't think it's coming right now, but that would be one major change that would help this team that is otherwise has superstars at a lot of positions. Like, I do think they're kind of capped right now. They could have won this game. Obviously the score was pretty close, but I think they're still some pieces, but almost most importantly, a different coaching setup away from really being a threat to, in the NFC, it's just obviously the Eagles and the 49ers. But when they make it to the Super Bowl, the true juggernauts that are in the AFC.
You can almost explain away Sunday because they're playing this elite defense. They're living in the backfield. Tony Pollard gets hurt, who was featuring over Zeke before getting injured. But there's just too big of a body of evidence at this point of the Cowboys leaving meat on the bone, of just not maximizing their you don't feel threatened by the Cowboys. It just never felt like the Cowboys were going to tie this game on those final two drives.
It's so predictable too. On our preview podcast, we're like, they're going to run the ball, and you're like, no, surely they won't against this elite run defense. And
that was Denny. Denny had some very
no, that was me. I was like, there's no way, right?
Yeah, that was you. It was.
I can't believe someone on our pod thought that McCarthy would do the right thing.
I can't say I thought he was going to. I was like, sure.
It was natural disbelief but surely not here. And it's like, no, they will, because they don't mix up their game plans. It's like, I don't know. It's pretty, to me, it's one of the biggest signs of, if you're not mixing up your game plans in the NFL, probably not that sharp of a coaching staff, because, we know from years and years and years of what's Belichick's secret? Oh, he game plans for his opponent every single week. He's got a new game plan for his opponent. Wow. Oh, you never do that? you never game plan for your opponent. You just roll out your same game plan because that's your strength and we do what we do. Like, probably a better way to do it. There's probably a better way to do it. And you see the Eagles are doing that. I think you look at the Bengals, basically every team left, you have confidence that they're going to be game planning to their opponent. And the Cowboys are they're going to get the runs in. They're going to get their balanced attack. And I think if they had a little more faith in Dak, maybe, they'd be better off. Like maybe that's part of the problem is that they're kind of putting him in tougher situations than they really need to. That's not really to excuse his play, though. I thought he played really, really poorly today.
He did. There's way too many throws.
In addition to the coaching, though, we can't forget that he plays for a team that gave a massive contract to Zeke, that traded away Amari Cooper for what, like a 6th-round pick, right?
Because day 3 pick.
Yeah, because they couldn't afford to pay him because of the Zeke contract. But it's not an outrageous sum of money that they would have had to pay him. I think he made $20 million.
$20 million, yeah. It's like $20 million.
So that's fine. Amari Cooper would have, for $20 million, would have been a great addition to this team. You take Zeke off the field, healthy Tony Pollard all season, hopefully. I mean, honestly, Malik Davis looks totally capable, better than Zeke, in my opinion. So if you never signed Zeke, you have Amari on this team. I think it's much stronger passing offense because Gallup has not really looked good coming back.
What was the deal?
I like Gallup, but I don't know if it was just he'll need another year. It took Cam Akers midway through the season, and it just kind of a switch flipped, and he started to look better down the stretch. We could still totally get that from Gallup because he was a really strong big playmaker a year ago and 2 years ago. But that's another thing, switching out Amari Cooper as your 1st/2nd receiver to what we got from Gallup this year. And now they owe him a lot of money. Gallup was a good player and earned that contract. I think it's just an unfortunate, maybe side effect of the injury or the poor scheme of the offense, some of both, that has not worked out. That has been, this is more of hindsight analysis. I didn't think it was a bad contract to give him at the time, but it has been a very unfortunate series of events for this team to be needing T.Y. Hilton to step up in the playoffs as their number 2. It's just that was less on them blame wise, but has turned out to be really a struggle for the team.
But I mean, if you do this to yourself, where you set yourself up to where there's no flexibility in terms of the cap, because you're giving a ton of money to a running back,
you're a second best running back.
Guys are your second best running back. Guys are gonna get hurt, and it's you have to have some depth if you're trying to maximize the Super Bowl window. And they hit on this incredible pass rusher and Parsons, and so now it's even more important to maximize this window. It's just such an unforced error to have boxed yourself out of being able to keep Amari Cooper, who was very good this year for the Browns. Really good.
What was Michael Gallup doing on that interception, by the way? Just stopped running. Seemed like he was tired. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And just lets him pick it. By the way, too, I don't know why I'm belaboring this conversation. It's not even the balance is the problem, Kerrane. It's because the Eagles are balanced, as we know, but it's the predictability is the problem.
Yeah.
The
Eagles are balanced over the course of the season.
Yeah, true.
When they're in a situation where it makes sense to pound the rock, they pound the rock. When it makes sense to just chuck it deep a bunch, they chuck it deep a bunch. They play to that specific matchup. And then overall, over the course of the season, you're they're even more run heavy than the Cowboys. But the way they get there is smart. The way the Cowboys get there is they do the same thing in every single game.
Sequencing matters a lot.
Yeah.
But you guys said you didn't think Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones is 80 years old. We'll see how he's feeling on Monday. He's never been known as the most patient man. So we'll see. But we'll be right back after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands by predicting what will happen on the PGA Tour as well as in college basketball and the NFL. That includes a shot at $100,000 on Conference Championship Sunday if you enter our Sunday Night 7 contest. Conference Championship Sunday will be going through Kansas City in the AFC for the 5th straight year. Pat Mahomes, a starter for 5 years, hosting 5 AFC Championship games seems like a pretty good track record, but he is going to be playing through a high ankle sprain. I'm going to say he's going to be playing. I'm sure there'll be drama. Will he play? He will play. They're going to do unspeakable things to that ankle. We have no idea what they're going to be putting in that ankle, but he will be playing for the 2nd straight year against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I mean, is it fair to say, so producer Adam points out the Chiefs are still Super Bowl favorites right now, according to BetMGM, 25-1. I hope that's right. I mean, should they really be favored in this game?
Well,
though?
it's not. I don't think it's 25-1. It's 2.5
yeah, it's
to 1.
plus 2.
Yeah, sorry.
25-1. You gotta.
I made no sense. That's why. Anyways, is it fair to say the Chiefs should be considered underdogs against a Bengals team that has beat them 3 straight times, and they have a quarterback playing through a ankle sprain? Who is the favorite in this AFC Championship game?
I still take Vegas and go with the Chiefs, but it does feel pretty tentative. And I guess part of it for me is still that not really sure what we get from the Bengals.
Kyle, real quick, the Chiefs are not the Super Bowl favorites. They are initial 1.5 point favorites in this game.
Yeah, I still think it's the Chiefs. I mean,
so
I guess
that line's saying that the Bengals are better than the Chiefs, at least with this version of Patrick Mahomes, because they have.
Yeah, that's true. Because the game is in Kansas City. I'm
gonna go Chiefs. I think even a very, I don't want to say very limited because he played through the injury, but a reasonably limited Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the NFL by a significant margin. They'll have an edge in the trenches. I mean, they'll have an edge probably still in defense too. Really, the biggest difference will be, and it's what we saw last week by the time you're listening to this, is that when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and even their depth at receiver and what they have at tight end, and even their pass catching running backs, when you have so much of that and a good quarterback, magic can happen at any moment. But I still think I'll take Mahomes. He has just been by far the best quarterback year over year over year. So I'll rely on that as the tiebreaker, though you could swing me either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs will have a better game plan than what the Bills had on Sunday. I mean, I couldn't even discern what the Bills' offensive approach was. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Their offensive line broke down. Josh Allen re-injured his elbow. I mean, it literally had blood coming through his jersey from his elbow injury. The Bills' offense just went off the rails, I thought, at the end of the season. No running game to speak of, no coherent passing game approach either. It was just all they needed Josh Allen hero ball, play in and play out, and it worked for a long time because he's such a freak. But you saw what happened. They fell behind early on Sunday, and I couldn't even figure out what the Bills' offense was supposed to be against the Bengals. And we know the Chiefs will at least have they're gonna have something up their sleeve. They're gonna have a good game plan for the Bengals. But they did last year in the first half, dominated the first half, missed some points at the end of the first half, got totally out adjusted by Lou Anarumo in the second half. And I feel the Chiefs, Andy Reid, I feel he always plays tight in the playoffs. I feel every Chiefs playoff game is closer than it needs to be.
Yeah, I am worried about the injury to Mahomes. I mean, he looked
I'm not worried. Come on,
good.
I'm not worried about it. I mean, come on, guys play at elite levels through high ankle sprains all the time.
Yeah,
the first play,
major concern.
His always downplay high ankle sprains.
Yeah,
high ankle sprain did. Hold on, don't put it in the paper that a high ankle sprain changed my life. Okay, don't put that in the paper.
It
did though.
The first play back is a handoff to, I think it's Pacheco. It doesn't really matter. And he can hardly even put weight on it. It instantly looked. Yeah. And I mean, he played through it, but I do agree. That's the X factor that we just really have no ability to discern even.
The other thing is that I think it's important to note that when Chad Henne came in, he looked great. Now, why did Chad Henne look great? Because he's playing the Jaguars, who are just that bad against the pass. 30th in DVOA entering the game. They lived up, I think, to that really poor reputation on the back end. Travis Kelce, 17 targets, 14 receptions, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. You didn't think Kelce was going to be the way they attacked? That's a surprise.
I feel Lou Anarumo will adjust to that.
Yeah, the game I think Lou will have that one covered. There isn't a particularly surprising Kansas City attack. If Mahomes isn't mobile and you can take away Kelce, then I mean, Tony can do some stuff, but he's not even out there a lot.
Well, I was going to say, not to be a broken record, man. It's time. It really.
time.
It's been beyond time.
Ask more stuff. It's
been
past time.
You can't tackle him. It's like he's slathered in grease. He's so you cannot tackle him. He's so it's not even like he's a slippery thing. It's really more like just he's strong. Guys try to tackle him and bounce off of him. It's insane. His functional play strength is off the friggin' charts. They have got, not to mention his speed and agility. They've just got to get him more involved. They're not going to win the game, I think, if they don't.
12 routes next week, and you're going to like it, bud.
That's true.
He ran 12 routes. Routes.
I didn't even know.
Ryan told us. You told us it was going to happen. We just stared in disbelief, but you told us it was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah, it's not. It's like a running back level of routes as he runs. He's a bit player. He's a good bit player.
What happened with McKinnon against the Jaguars? Why was he just a ghost?
He was out there a fair amount.
He was out on the field, but he didn't do anything. He barely had any touches.
When Kittle's never been covered once throughout the game, you don't need to use your running back that much.
That's true. That's true. Kelsey, of course, not
Kelsey.
covered.
Kelsey. I ruined the bet. Whatever.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon wasn't targeted. Is this real? He was not targeted.
What was Kelsey's target share? 78%.
Yeah, Kelsey was targeted on 17 of 30 Patrick Mahomes attempts. Or I guess some of those were Chad Henne, but.
Yeah, 17. that concerns me just with how good the Bengals defense looked against the Bills. And I just think if Mahomes isn't as mobile, there's more ways that you can disrupt what the Chiefs are doing. The magic of Mahomes is that, he's going around back there. His head's looking 20 yards downfield, yet his legs are nimbly avoiding everybody. It's this little dance.
Insane.
And then he throws it. He leaps into the air and puts it total on the money dart. That could be disrupted by a high ankle sprain, I think.
Yeah.
The way, Pat, you described accurately what Mahomes is doing. I don't know if you've ever been on a site called YouTube, but you can find chickens have their heads. They are perfectly aligned to where you can move their body around, and they're just always looking forward and at the same level. But that's the magic of Mahomes and a few other quarterbacks, to where the level of chaos is never too high for them when they're not dealing with a really bad ankle injury. So we'll see how much that affects it. But
and that's the thing. There's not a whole lot. There's basically nothing you can do on 1 week with a high ankle sprain. They're going to give him a pain-killing injection, so he won't be able to feel his ankle, but he's not going to be able to run and plant to jump off of it. It's going to be all upper body. It's going to be all his arm. It's we've been using that word a lot to show, but the improvisations is not going to be what we're used to. Because Twitter, justifiably, was going nuts the first two Chiefs drives, because Mahomes was doing stuff that just should not be possible. The Jags defense actually kind of came out hot. They were flying around the field, and Mahomes was just doing something that no other quarterback in the league can do basically every play, extending.
Yeah, they're
plays.
Getting to him a little bit, but it didn't matter.
He was just extending plays and then doing absolutely insane stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Who ran more routes, by the way? Kadarius Toney or Isaiah Pacheco? Who do you think?
Just stop.
Don't you dare.
Just stop.
It was Toney, but only by one.
Okay, good. None of us sound very convinced that the Chiefs are going to win, by the way, just based on the conversation.
I'm going to say the Chiefs win, but
how do they win, though? We'll talk about this a lot more on Thursday, but
I want to get Kyle's take on this offensive line that was good for the Bengals. They held up really well. Burrow took one sack. He wasn't pressured a bunch. It was weird because when the Bengals had the ball, I was like, oh, because of the snow, the defenders are leaving half the field uncovered and they can't get to Burrow. But then when the Bills had the ball, it was like, because of the snow, the Bills can't get open downfield. It was very, it's affecting the teams sort of differently, almost like maybe it wasn't the snow and the Bengals were outplaying the Bills.
It did seem like the snow was affecting the Bills' pass rush, but like you said, they were all over Josh Allen. So
Bill's pass rush has definitely taken a hit. I think they've been below league average in pressure rates since they lost Von Miller. Joe Burrow has one of the fastest times thrown in the league, and his time to throw in this past game was faster than his already lightning fast time to throw. But I do think you could play that game out more times. I mean, this was a really strong outcome from the offensive line and their matchup. I think if you play it out more times than one, we do see more than one sack. But they had a good scheme, and it was a more favorable matchup than just looking at Buffalo's season-long numbers because they've had some injuries. But I do think they had a good scheme to help protect Burrow. And you pointed this out that in the second half of the season, Burrow, and it's hard to say, like, it's like a 6 or 7 game sample, but he had really dialed it back on the sacks in the final like 5 or 6 games of the year. So I think if they can continue to push that really will, I mean, it actually will mitigate the injuries to the offensive line and a little bit of the fact that like from some of the injuries they've had throughout the year, they didn't have an elite line at any point. They didn't really have a good line at any point. It's more of, I think continuity was a major concern and still will be, but in terms of the talent they've lost, it's not as massive of a talent discrepancy as, say, like had Dallas lost 3 starting linemen because they were like getting a poor season out of Lyle Collins before he got hurt, stuff like that.
By the way, it would have been pretty weird if the Chiefs were 25-1 as one of the 4 remaining teams and had their longest odds of the entire season.
And they're the favorites. So these books are laying some bad lines.
Would have been pretty weird. The Chiefs, so to get to the AFC Championship game, they beat the Jaguars. We're not going to talk about the Jaguars for a bunch, but did the Jags show enough to say like they're officially a team on the rise, or was there kind of like an element of fluke to this run? What would you say?
I mean, on the rise, it doesn't like is not a grandiose statement about them, right? But I mean, they have like a quarterback who his first year, I think, is almost like easily thrown out by how terrible the coaching staff was and a lack of talent around
Especially
him.
Now. I think it's easier to throw it out now, too.
Exactly. Yeah. Had he looked bad this year, it would be more concerning. But now that he looks good, we can say that first year, in terms of what he actually put out on the field, seems like a bit of a fluke. So in his second year, his first year with a coaching staff who knew what they were doing in the slightest, looks pretty good. Make it to the playoffs, win a game, and they'll be getting Calvin Ridley adding to the mix next year. We'll see how much of a weapon he is at this point in his career. But like,
we'll see if Calvin Ridley I'm not getting too excited about Calvin.
I know.
We'll see what happens.
You can paint an optimistic picture though that this quarterback, who in his second year was already like a top 10 quarterback in EPA per play, who was getting his, I mean, technically going back to like Clemson, his third coaching staff in 3 years, like a lot of stuff was stacked against them in a way. Some stuff was stacked for them in the sense they play in the AFC South. It's a bit of an easy division to win, but they're going to play in the AFC South next year too.
Kidding.
So like they get to Texas twice next year and the year after that and the year after that. So I think they're on the rise. I still think they're a team that, like, I mean, you really do just need another step forward from Trevor Lawrence, which could happen to put you on par with the Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, because they all have elite quarterback play. But I don't think that's out of the question that we could get like another step forward from Trevor Lawrence. I think I don't want to say it's expected, but it certainly seems possible. It'll be his third year. So they're not like elite yet, but on the rise is pretty low bar to clear. They're definitely on the rise.
Yeah, that division is just going to be horrendous next year too. I mean, you got maybe the biggest threat is going to be a team starting Ryan Tannehill. Like it's going to be a horrendous division.
Maybe they'll be starting Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
I think Calvin Ridley is probably a pretty interesting addition, just because like he's going to be able to play outside, and I feel like he's doing kind of what they want, which is like they're doing a lot of like shallow underneath stuff in general, and I think he's probably a pretty good fit for that. So he is a great fit for that. Yeah, he's a natural fit for what they need. He's like an improvement over Zay Jones, I think.
He is going to be 28.
Zay will probably have a little bit of a role, but.
He's going to be 28 with 5 appearances over the previous 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't want to like go too in on. They're getting the superstar talent. Like you said, it'll be a bit of a time since we've seen him, and he came into the league as an older player already. But like, there's potential for that. Like, he was like considered like potentially a top 10 receiver when he was at his peak. Now, like you said, 2 years ago or whatever. So it's been some time.
We were drafting him in the second round of fantasy drafts.
We were.
Yeah. I mean, there's upside here with the
a lot of it,
for sure.
Some of us on the show had to cancel planned additions to our house. That pick didn't work out. So he bankrupt.
But hey, at least Robbie Gould came through.
Yeah, Robbie Gould did. We're getting a pool.
All right.
I hope my family's not listening to spoil the surprise, but we're getting a pool after good as gold.
Hey man, you want to check in on your bankroll after the show?
I brought you guys up to date on my DFS bankroll before the show. We made a profit.
Make sure you're not playing out over your skis there.
Yeah, I made a profit of $12.
Well, the pool's going to be one of those inflatable ones, the ones that are like 12 by 6. But
it's one of those really nice ones. It's from it's from Etsy, and like it's like a special material. It's really cool. The kids are going to love it.
All right,
until I pop it. Any final thoughts on Jaguars?
Here's a way. Are you guys more excited about the Jaguars next season than the Lions? And leave aside the division stuff, but just as a team, this team, are you more excited about the Lions or the Jaguars?
Jaguars.
I'm more excited about the Lions. I think the Lions would be close to they'd be like one of the 2 or 3 Super Bowl favorites in the NFC if they had Trevor Lawrence.
But they don't.
They do not. I think top to bottom, I'm a much bigger fan of the Lions program. Like, I feel like we saw progress in like every phase of the ball from the Lions as the season went on. The Jaguars still had way too many kind of implosion moments. Not even just talking about the 4 interception. Like, they had way too many. I mean, they almost lost to Josh Dobbs, as we've talked about in the show. Defense, they just never got it together. Not that the Lions were ever a feared defense, but I think I like the Lions roster better right now, except for with the humongous exception of quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's where most of my argument.
The Lions better.
I think that's where most of my argument comes in from, is that we have probably
the Lions get a quarterback, man. Get a quarterback.
We've seen the best of Jared Goff, and I think he'll be back. If he's not back and they take a step in a different direction, my answer could change very quickly. But I do think we're sort of pushing this offense possibly to its limits. Maybe the addition of Jameson Williams, or the addition, getting him into an actual role, because we didn't really see much of him last year for them. Maybe that changes the complexion a bit, but you're still working with a very capped ceiling that is playoff caliber capped. It's not like a 5-win cap, but it's a 10-win cap. Probably.
I think that's what's exciting about the Jaguars, is that if we were looking at this question like we do fantasy stuff, where you're like, we want players that are going to be big wins and small misses. That's the Jaguars, right? They could be definitely worse. They could easily miss the playoffs. They could regress for sure, but Lawrence should at least provide some level. But with Ridley, if Lawrence can take another leap forward, they could be in the mix with, the top teams in the AFC. And the Lions, they'll never be in the mix as an elite team because they don't have a quarterback like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who a reasonable upgrade could be for the Lions, quarterback.
It'd be the draft. They're not
in great draft.
Certainly not looking into a veteran quarterback when they already have if Goff was on the market, I don't think he'd be viewed that differently than Derek Carr or whatever.
Don't they have don't they have the 5th pick?
They do. Yeah. So I was going to be first, I was trying to think modestly, what if they get Derek Carr? Jared Goff is probably better than Derek Carr. They do.
Even if he's not, it's adding half a.
Yeah, he is in this scheme with these coaches and these receivers and this chemistry, I think, at this point.
Yeah. They do. So I mean, they have the ammunition. They have the ammunition to move up to number 1 if they want, because they have the number 5 pick and the number 17 pick. So they've got the ammunition so sometimes I think teams the Lions, if any team is ever going to do it, it's the Lions. They have a building block on the defensive line. They have building blocks on the offensive line. They have building blocks in the skill core. You could actually make the argument this team is a quarterback short. Now, is it a rookie quarterback short? Yeah. I guess you could.
I'd be excited to find out if it was a rookie quarterback short, though. I really.
Ben Johnson's coming back. That's pretty exciting. You're getting Ben Johnson.
That is huge.
I mean, we were talking about when they traded for Jared Goff, if you want to frame it that way. We were talking about it as a salary dump for the Rams. Moving on from Jared Goff was logistically, you also don't really have any reason to have him on your roster. But we were talking about, are they just including him? Do the Rams have to pay more because of the money Goff will cost the Lions in the upcoming seasons? That's how low our opinion had dropped of him. I think he has exceeded that, but I also think he's been doing that in the confines of sort of the way we talk about Brock Purdy, where the system has really accentuated everything he does well. What if there was a quarterback, maybe a rookie, who you don't need to tailor every decision around, how can we maximize this limited skill set? What if we can maximize the ceiling of a rookie quarterback? That would have me really interested in the Lions as a Super Bowl contender, even if it wouldn't be in 2023, maybe. down the road, like this team just have so much talent on offense. I just struggle to see it with Goff beyond 10 wins, first round playoff type of
huge coup for me here. I've gotten about 5 minutes of Lions talking.
I was gonna say, why are we talking about the Lions?
Because I wanted to. I just brought it up, and you guys kept talking about it.
We gotta stop. The Eagles. I mean, this is why the term boat race exists. Absolutely destroyed the New York Giants, 38-7, Saturday night in the city of brotherly love. Just a comprehensive dismantling in every phase of the game. It's safe to say the Eagles are back from their late season funk, which was only a funk because their quarterback got hurt. Jalen Hurts refuses to say he's 100% healthy. He did risk the shoulder on a goal line carry that he converted for a touchdown. Took a few really big hits. Are we saying the Eagles are back if they were ever gone to begin with?
Yeah, it's tough to say they were gone because, like you said, it was playing with Gardner Minshew and then one game back versus a team's backups, which, like, I think you should boat race the backups, but I also think you can logic yourself into we need to play really conservative and just get out.
Psychologically weird.
Yeah, like I think the smart thing to do is go out, do fun Eagle stuff and beat them to whatever they won this game, 38-7 or whatever it was. Do that in week 18, and you don't even need to get up to 38. Rest your starters in the second half, which they've done before because they've beaten other teams that badly. But like you were saying, you can kind of tie yourself in a knot thinking like, let's try and play the least plays possible, keep Hurts protected, and beat Davis Webb by 6 while scoring 22, which is what
happened.
And then we see that's the only bad game they have under Jalen Hurts that feels like it's part of a string of other bad games. They come back in this one and do what we expect them to do a few weeks ago. So yeah, the slump probably wasn't even real in the sense of it's not what we'll see in the playoffs. But I mean, if it was, it definitely
wasn't real. It wasn't real at all. Yeah. Like, big winner, December, the month of December. Stuff that happened in December is relevant, apparently. It was like, oh God, what about week 18? Davis Webb? Like, I mean, it was a little silly. I
think it was still about his shoulder more than anything.
It was about his shoulder. And I think that was fair. And I thought that the Giants did have a chance in this game because it was sort of like the Schrodinger's Hurts. You open the box and it's like, is the shoulder a problem? If it is, then like this could be a game because in that scenario, the Eagles are going to be running the ball a lot and they're going to be conservative, and the Giants would have loved that on the other side. But we opened the box, and Jalen Hurts was Jalen Hurts. He was chucking it downfield. They were protecting him really well.
One sack.
They were running a bunch of screen passes and everything that were also working really well. So they kind of had a little bit of both, a little bit of the downfield passing game, which didn't connect as much as you'd like. They had that A.J. Brown throw that they missed on, but he did hit Smith downfield on the long play. And then kind of the shorter stuff in the passing game was working really well. And then they ran all over the Giants to close the game. So
44 carries for 268 yards.
Yeah. Boston Scott got his mandatory touchdown. We all were very happy about that.
Boston Scott has declared war on the city of New York.
It's great. As someone who's in the city of New York, I love it. And his name's Boston too. I mean,
it's true. Oh my gosh, that's true.
Yeah, just a real thumb to the eye of the city. I've never
take it easy, Boston Scott. Man, come on, man. I love New York City, by the way.
Great city. You can root against all the teams, though.
Oh yeah,
I do recommend
believe me,
all of the New York teams.
Do I ever? Occasionally I will make it personal with Mets and Jets fans. Kind of used to do that more back in the day on Twitter, especially Mets fans. Not a joke. The night before my first child, one of the final things that happened to me before my first child was born was that I got a death threat from a Mets fan.
Oh my God.
And it was like the most serious death threat I ever got on Twitter. Not that this is funny at all, but guy, he was so mad at me. Like so mad. Because I was talking, I think I was talking about like the Mets. There was like a beanball war. I'm like, oh, the Mets definitely did this on purpose. I can't remember the context. And I got just a legit death threat from a Mets fan. It's not
on Twitter. Was it DM?
Yeah, on Twitter. It's just public on Twiter. It's not like a DM.
I mean, it would concern me more if it was a DM.
Yeah, it wasn't like a letter bomb or anything like that. Too soon.
Oh my God. Right.
Yeah, no. Got a death threat from a Mets fan.
Well, that's classic Mets fans behavior.
Please never again. Amazins Nation, we love you. We love our
that Mets fan's name, Pat Kerrane.
New York resident. Don't see who sent that.
We love Amazins Nation, folks. But yeah, the Jets, or excuse me, the Eagles, you mentioned the deep balls that didn't connect. I did think, Jalen Hurts' arm isn't the strongest. There was a few underthrows. One of the only touches of gray in this game. But there were some underthrows. Hopefully the arm strength is there. Really, really hope the arm strength is there for the NFC Championship game. But yeah, pretty comprehensive performance. The Jets. The Giants, I mean, Daniel Jones, there's just no way to show. He was awful. He was highly, highly inaccurate, just missing throws all night, not contributing anything with his legs. Can the Giants really run it back? Yeah.
The total unaware strip sack fumble.
Yeah, the awareness was.
That's an iconic Daniel Jones play. He had done a lot better with that this year, and that had been like of his many issues in previous years. The complete inability to perceive pressure well in the pocket was a big issue up until this year. It showed a few times this year, but I thought he had gotten rid of that or at least improved a lot, and he did, but it came back in a major way in this game.
I mean, can they really run it back, this guy? I mean, they're in a tough spot at quarterback, but because now they don't even have a good draft pick. I mean, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
What? I just don't know what they can do.
I don't even know
they
what they
could
should
not
do.
have his top receiver be Isaiah Hodgins. That would be my starting point.
No.
Honestly,
Minnesota
to get
Vikings.
to Isaiah Hodgins, I think is one of the smartest things they did. Like they just kept cycling. They had David Sills out there. They had Marcus Johnson out there. They had Kenny Galladay out there. Hodgins was a victory.
Yeah. By the way, just let the record show the Minnesota Vikings allowed 105 yards to Isaiah Hodgins. So I tweeted this last night, and people were like, "Oh, did you ever think about maybe Isaiah Hodgins is good?" That sounds like Kerrane. One of those was Crane's burner. Did you ever think about that? And I guess maybe he is. But,
I don't think he's that good. I think I credit the Giants for continuing to cycle their receivers until they found something that works. So many teams would have just been like, "Oh, this is a guy. He knows all the routes."
And it's not just a receiver. So many teams just don't do that at so many different positions.
Yeah,
I think it's most vividly displayed in baseball. Not to get too far afield here, but it's like the classic in baseball. Where like a reliever, there's got to be someone in the minor leagues who's just not going to give up 3 runs every night in the 6th inning. Like we got to bring up a different pitcher. Like that's
not in the Mets minor league system.
Not the Mets system. They traded everyone away. And they were the $400 million payroll, and they still didn't even win a playoff round. I mean, come on. But it's the same principle applies to football. You can't. So you said it perfectly. They do deserve credit for cycling until they actually found the guy who was indeed better.
I mean, they had the guy. It was Kadarius Toney, and they traded him.
You could kind of I've dabbled in truthing that.
He was not going to play for them.
I think that's a little bit of.
I'm willing to only run 6 routes, but I will only do it for the Chiefs.
Yeah. So you're saying it's a Toney thing?
I mean, it's not like he barely played in college. It seems like it probably is a Toney thing.
You could see why the Giants gave up on. I do think it was not, especially for a 2nd-round pick. It was almost like they were never going to get a better opportunity to cut their losses, and so they did. It was. But man, it could backfire. Kadarius Toney could be. He's like the classic kind of random player who could be Super Bowl MVP.
What are you talking about?
Just because, there's always like a backup safety. He could be like the X.
He had the exact same amount of receiving snaps as Pacheco. Pacheco blocked on one of his snaps. That's the only reason they didn't have
Kerrane.
If you just take his per snap data and multiply it by 5,
he has to play. He has to be on the field.
Kerrane, after what we saw, over under 19.5 routes for Kadarius Toney.
Oh my God.
Under. Easy under.
Come on, man. I'm taking the over. I actually am. 22, 23 routes. That's what I'm expecting.
I'll straight up bet you Justin Watson versus Kadarius Toney routes run.
No, I won't take that. I won't do that. But there's no way he's running more routes than Justin Watson. I think they're going to find a way to get him over 20 routes.
Well, Watson ran 18 routes. So in order for Toney to get up above 20, he's probably taking him from Watson.
Okay, I'll take that bet. I think he will.
Okay.
They got to make an adjustment. What are we betting? Are we going to bet some DK crowns?
So one, Pat, I'm not surprised, Daugherty, that you're taking this terrible bet. as the one who this is worse than that time a few minutes ago when you thought the Chiefs were 25-1 to win the Super Bowl.
I didn't have my reading glasses on. Let's just move on.
Small text.
How about loser has to watch the Mets?
I mean, at least they're good now. They weren't even good then. At least they got some good players. I mean, sure, they're always good in the regular season when it doesn't matter.
As a Zoomer, it just sounds like this bet is loser is forced to watch a game of baseball. Ooh.
And by the way, the Mets are often not even good in the regular season. Don't get it twisted. But you guys, I don't know how people as obsessed with statistics as you guys. I don't know how you don't watch baseball. Like, football's just the tip of the iceberg, man. You don't even know. You don't even know the weird stuff we got in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, football, the thing with football is it's so chaotic that like there's kind of this beautiful blend of like you can get real into the stats, but then like
it's true.
You have to like throw it all out pretty quick. And
there's more reward for making big bets in football. That's actually true.
I don't want like ChatGPT is going to come for baseball. Like, no,
it already has.
Yeah. Okay. So there
20
you go.
Years ago. Yeah.
Football, it has at least another 6 months.
Yeah. Baseball, like anytime like you add someone like who you pick up someone off waivers, like I don't know if this guy can keep it up. They and like every underlying metric says they won't, and then they never ever do because there's the data just never lies. So whereas in football it lies quite a lot because the sample sizes are so darn small. But
so let's say the Giants take a receiver, whatever pick they have, 17, and he turns out to be like pretty good right away. Let's say like Chris Olave level of good. Like, how much better is the offense with that sort of setup, right? Let's just say it's one more receiver, but a truly like good hit in the first round. Like, does that meaningfully change their outcome in next year and the regular season and the playoffs if you think they would make it?
It does not,
because they like even for a team like the Giants to get here, they ran hot. And I'm not saying I think they were a solid team. They're not like totally fraudulent or whatever, but like just any team that isn't great and wins a playoff game ran a little hot. And so they probably need to add some talent to like Saquon stayed healthy. Saquon hasn't been healthy. He's been playing through injury. There were on this podcast, I believe last year, we were like, is Saquon anymore? Is it over? And he looked great this year because he's finally healthy and he stayed healthy all year. But what if he misses 4 or 5 games next year? And that's like a major blow to a team that does not have playmakers. So I think
he's a free agent too, right? Saquon.
They're going to pay him though.
Yeah, you're right. They almost have to. I mean, I guess you never have to pay a running back, but you really
should franchise him. The best thing I think would if they
should franchise him actually.
Yeah, well, and then give like Daniel Jones like a 2-year deal that you can get out of. Like that's
probably gonna happen.
If you can't like go get somebody else, I mean, there's got to be. I mean, Jimmy, Carr, whatever.
Yikes!
Like I don't
do this.
Yeah, those Geno.
Get someone cheap. Don't pay money for the quarterback because none of these guys is gonna be worth paying.
I'm down for them
Tannehill for cheap.
I'm down for them to run it back with Daniel Jones on like you said, a 2-year deal or something like that. Like give him a chance to prove it, draft a receiver. And if not, like you have good pieces in your team. If you have financially set yourself up to cut bait with Daniel Jones, like I do kind of think he deserves another chance. Like it's not like, I don't know. I don't think it's optimal team building strategy, but I do kind of just like believe that this guy who was a mistake riddled mess for a few years and had like, I think he was like the lowest interception rate in the NFL this past year.
Because he never threw deep ever though.
Well, of course he didn't throw deep. Richie James was top target.
Well, he never threw deep even when he had good downfield threats. I'll get back to you when I think of who they are.
Yeah.
The issue is that if you sign Daniel Jones to like, let's say a 2-year deal where you're locked into both years, and then the most likely scenario is that you miss the playoffs next year because you're in a division with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Most likely you're not going to make the playoffs. Okay, so now you've missed the playoffs. Now you're locked into a year with Daniel Jones in 2024. Most likely scenario is that you probably miss the playoffs again. Is Daboll getting fired now? So I just don't like Daboll. You want to talk about who deserves something? Like, yeah, Jones probably deserves another contract. Daboll deserves to be able to coach another quarterback as a head coach before it all comes crashing down. And I worry I don't have any issue if you can bring him in cheaply.
There's just no such thing as a cheap quarterback contract. He's going to make $20 million.
Don't do it then. Then don't.
No, $20 million. He's going to make way more than $20 million.
Yeah. No, I meant per season, but
no, that's like I think that's like.
Could they get Tannehill for cheaper than Jones? Because that's what I would rather. I think I might even rather have Tannehill. Maybe that's crazy.
Yeah, I think I'd probably actually just take a little more and see if there's a little more juice to squeeze out of the Daniel Jones orange, because the Ryan Tannehill has been fully juiced.
Yeah, that's for sure. He has. Yeah.
He's been fully juiced.
I feel like Ryan Tannehill had better receivers this year and looked far worse than Daniel Jones.
He didn't have better receivers by much. So let's be honest.
I don't know. Having 8 games of Treylon Burks is better than having 16 games of Richie James.
I think I'd rather take the Giants situation, because there's sort of like a weakest link situation. Like the Giants found by the end of the season 3 competent guys, and I don't really think that the Titans really ever had that. I mean, unless you count like Chickapongwa, who's pretty.
I was going to say, we're splitting hairs between Nick Westbrook-Akine and Richie James. I feel like it doesn't make a big difference to me.
Yeah, I must, to settle the pointless argument, I do think the Giants had a better situation than the Titans. That was about as bad as it gets. Even with 8 games of Treylon, who we love again, since he's not a bust. We love you, Treylon.
I'm in.
We're still in. We'll be right back after this to close out the show. Download the Rotoworld app to see breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It is available in your app store today. We have 1 game left. The Bengals 27 over the Bills 10. Where I guess let's start with the Bills, because they had issues in every phase on Sunday, but I'm just most perplexed by what happened on offense. Just what is plaguing this team on offense? But you kind of hinted at earlier, is it the lack of a running game? Is it the passing attack that's kind of underdesigned post Brian Dable? Was this the personnel not good enough behind Stephon Diggs? It was just as simple as the elbow injury to Josh Allen. I don't understand what happened to this offense. What did happen to this Bills offense in the second half of the season?
It's weird because you don't see a lot of I'd love to see a Mike McDaniel style offense with this Bills attack. Would
he ever play within that kind of structure though, Josh Allen?
Well, maybe not. Maybe that's a weakness of Allen, but it's a lot of deep shots, kind of straight down the field, more down the sidelines. You're not seeing a lot of over the middle stuff. And I mean, I think that's probably Allen. It's probably personnel. It's probably the route designs, and I think, Gabe Davis he's not it as a second wide receiver.
No. I contend it was the ankle injury. He's going to come.
How roaring. Are you still doing this?
I'm just joking. He's going to come roaring back next year.
But I think he'd be honestly. I think he'd be fine in a
on the
Michael Gallup plus type of way, or Mike Williams type of
Jalen. He's Jalen Guyton.
I think he's a better
slower than Jalen Guyton.
He's more like Mike Williams. He's a worse version of Mike Williams. But that's the role he occupies, where he's because he does hit big plays from time to time. He just doesn't really get much separation. But then it's you got Diggs, and they didn't ever find a playmaker out of the slot, really. Shakir kind of flashed. I thought he looked interesting, but it's a Tony situation where he's not out there enough. Dawson Knox is just totally, he's just a guy who runs routes. He's not really a playmaker at all. And they never found, we never found any playmaking out of the backfield.
I mean, the backfield doomed. I mean, the backfield, you can't have that bad of a running game. You just can't. You have to have some sort of counterpunch, even when you have Josh Allen. I mean, even the Chiefs, here's this guy, Jerick McKinnon, who's been around 10 years and ruined your dynasty team 5 years ago. But guess what? We're making him good now.
Pacheco's got.
Yeah, true.
There's a couple plays that he'll rip off a 10-yard run, and it's the defense has to respect it a little. And I thought they were headed there with James Cook. I thought we were going to get there, but they cannot quit Singletary. I'm really curious if they bring him back, because he's a free agent, and I feel like every single thing they've ever done would tell me that they wouldn't bring him back in terms of the way they've tried to build the team. They traded for Hines, they drafted Cook, they tried to get
remember Zach Moss?
Well, they drafted Zach Moss, but J.D. McKissick. They tried to get J.D. McKissick, and then he went back to the Commanders. So they've done all these things to tell us that they're not really all that psyched about him. But then they give him all these snaps. He had 5 targets in this, I believe 5 receptions in this game, and Cook was not targeted, which is just so weird. I think they must trust him as a pass protector.
He became like their Jamal Williams, where like they just loved his competency, but he's not explosive in any phase.
That's a good comp. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Kyle, about the Bills' offensive issues? We kind of cut you off there.
I was going to say, I thought like the idea of, and I have no clue to what degree like Allen would execute it and at what level, but the idea that like they are just like entirely reliant on the one good type of route Gabe Davis can run plus Stephon Diggs. And that oftentimes makes them just even like their play drives look like run pass drives because it's like deep shot, Gabe Davis, he has no separation. Covered.
Come on, this is utterly. He's going to sue you for libel.
He's like very close to dead last in yards per route run in almost every route except like go routes. Like
don't run.
Which is exactly what he is. Is like that's a good or a useful like utility for a third receiver. But when Stephon Diggs is covered and the only thing you can do is prayer yards, and you have the best armed quarterback in the NFL and prayer yards are still your answer because Gabe Davis isn't open. Like that is a really difficult setup. And it also eliminates a large portion of the field, which is kind of what Kerrane's getting at.
Man, it's not a good receiver free agent class, by the way. And a number of these teams
never is, man. About, never is.
No, it's not. The Chiefs need a receiver. The Giants need receivers. The Bills need a receiver. And it's not a good free agent class for receivers.
It's not a great rookie class either. I don't think it's like a terrible rookie class or anything, but we've had couple good rookie classes in a row. I guess more than a couple. And I think this might be like a notch below that. So
yikes. That's not good. Passing was already kind of on the decline this year, and now you're telling us there's not even good receivers coming, Pat.
There's there's definitely some good receivers, but I don't know that it's going to be quite as exciting as it's been.
Really like the Justin Jefferson class looks great. And what pick was he, like 16, 17?
22.
22.
That class looked great even at the time. Like we were excited about that class for sure.
Well, Jalen Reagor was in it, so we had to be excited.
We had to be. Also Jerry Jeudy, also CeeDee Lamb, also Henry Ruggs.
Jalen Reagor was on a playoff team this year. I don't see the big deal.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
All he does is the playoffs.
Yeah, just saying like prospecting is difficult. Maybe I agree. This doesn't, we don't have like a chase level prospect. We don't have someone we can project to be as good as like Justin Jefferson turned out to be. And I forgot, that class had the Alabama receivers. But yeah, I still think
like a bunch of second round guys in that was a loaded. T. Higgins was in that class. It was loaded.
It was a loaded class. He was the 33rd pick. We're really looking forward to your guys' off-season draft.
Brandon Ayuk was in that class.
Yeah, off-season draft and dynasty. Sorry, off-season draft and dynasty.
Hold up, let him cook.
Let him cook. I missed my cue to let him cook, but you guys are going to be cooking on draft and dynasty stuff pretty soon. Always a must-read at our site. And yeah, Pat, I wonder who you will get me excited about this year. You got me most excited about last year, to be real, was Greg Dulcich. And then I kind of missed out on him in like all my dynasty leagues, and I'm very sad. Because
he's fun.
You were notably high on Greg Dulcich last year.
The tight end stuff is, I think I have like a slightly different process than I know I do. Everyone gets really excited about athleticism at the tight end position, which to me is like the baseline. Like you need to be athletic to play tight end at a high level at the NFL, but it's also helpful if you can catch the ball and run routes and do that type of stuff.
That is nice.
And Dulcich popped a lot for me in those metrics, even though he wasn't the insane level of athlete that a guy like Jelani Woods was. Woods actually flashed, so it's not that Woods was.
You're saying you want tight ends who actually produce occasional offense in college, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and especially guys who are actually used. One thing I like is the guys who are used downfield as receivers, because that's like a sign that they can actually do things other than just like do the little squiggle route to the right and a little route to the left.
Guys who score touchdowns too, say a tight end who went to Missouri, scored a bunch of touchdowns, maybe 10 as a freshman with Drew Lock as his quarterback, and then gets drafted. And
you want to be careful with those guys; they'll often disappoint.
Yeah, well, too, you want to notice who never steamed Alberto was the person most familiar with his college career, me, because he could not stay healthy. So yeah, Kerrane with the Brian Windhorst point for those who are only listening instead of watching.
I do about a Windhorst, I would say a show. I average about a Windhorst show for the audio listeners. If there's ever a pause and then a giggle, it's probably my Windhorst.
Yeah, the guy could not stay healthy at Mizzou, and it's a real shame. I feel like I would talk about the Bills' struggles forever, but The Bengals won this game so convincingly. And here's like a pointless, just to get us off the air, like a very pointless, like first take type of prompt. But is Joe Burrow the second best quarterback in this league of ours called the NFL after Patrick Mahomes?
I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I'm a Hurts guy.
You say Hurts is ahead of Allen?
You said you were talking about Joe Burrow, I thought.
No, I'm talking about who's the second best overall quarterback in the NFL.
Allen.
Not in the NFC championship. Not in the championship. Okay. You don't think Burrow surpassed Allen?
No, I don't think so. Well, to me, I don't think I guess it depends on how you rank who is surpassed who, but I don't think he's third. I think Jalen Hurts is third.
You think Hurts is better than Burrow? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's tough. That's
Burrow's
so tough because Burrow's got Chase and Higgins.
Yeah.
It evens out. I thought about this too.
AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but Hurts has a way better offensive line. So I think I'd go Burrow.
I'm not putting Burrow ahead of Josh Allen, but I am putting Burrow third. I mean, Burrow's he's in the left lane on Josh Allen. He's not passing him yet, but he's thinking about making a pass.
Yeah,
on the left lane.
I hear you, man.
It's a concerning year for Josh Allen just because for the first time, it was the first season in a while where he didn't progress. He actually regressed a little bit. Some like the early career bugaboos return that we thought had kind of been like coached out of him, just returned for a variety of reasons. And the alibis are very, very convincing. A lot of reasons.
But Daboll's not coming back, No. And I did start to get a little more worried about the coaching at the end of the year. They didn't seem to be coming up with new.
No, they didn't have a backup plan. They just did not have a backup plan. It was hard because the personnel was not coming through that door, but they did not have an effective backup plan or counterpunch.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow, you hate to say it, the boomers, but he is what the boomers would call I hate he's what the boomers would call a winner.
Oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
The Zoomers would say Jalen Hurts beat him in EPA per play, which is in fact my Super Bowl.
He's a winner, guy. He's a winner, folks.
Like, they just won a playoff game, so sure, yeah, he's a winner.
He's a winner.
You know who's a winner? Brock Purdy. That kid wins.
Brock Purdy. Oh man, he's flashing major winner qualities.
He's a top 5 quarterback in the league right now, today.
He's flashing so many winner qualities, including every one of his interceptions getting dropped. It's the ultimate winner quality from Brock Purdy. We probably should have talked about the Bengals more, but we're going to do that on Thursday with our preview show. We're going to miss you, Pat, for that, but glad you're getting some R&R.
Speak for yourself.
Although how relaxing will it really be? You're flying like halfway across the world and then you're going scuba diving, which seems very high stress.
No, scuba diving is not high stress. The flights won't. That's not why we do it. The flights are just logistics.
Why we do it.
We don't enjoy flying halfway around the world. No, scuba diving is not actually high stress. The whole point of it really is that you're kind of trying to stay in the zone, stay even, like regulate your breathing, because the whole game is like, can you get your okay, so as not the best diver in the world and also a guy, I go through oxygen at a faster rate than better divers, and women generally tend to use less oxygen. Like if you have more mass, you're going to use more oxygen. So I'm trying to control how much I'm breathing. Like I would say maybe even more focused on that than a better diver would be. So in that process, you're it's like meditative in a sense, you're really focused on your breath and trying to make sure you're staying in the moment and everything. And then you're just you're down there just looking at cool stuff. I would say it's not high stress. Now it could devolve and become high stress and you want to be prepared for those scenarios, but the goal's for that never to happen.
I'll be talking about Jawan Jennings while you're doing that, and a Mets fan will make a death threat to me while you're doing that. But no, it's cool.
Jawan, you get real. You're gonna be talking about Ray McLeod or something.
That guy can ball. That guy's a winner. I'm pretty sure. Doesn't Ray McLeod do the backflip on every?
Ray McLeod's not a winner. He lost a fumble on Saturday.
He won the game. Who cares?
That's true.
Before we sign off, while we're talking about gross plays, I do want to give Denny a shout out. Richie James. He talked about Dallas Goedert, not the most vomit play. We talked Samaje Perine as a potential vomit play.
I kept thinking about Denny every Perine touch.
every gag play was pretty good.
Yeah, they weren't. Didn't he? If the man knows one thing, it's the gag plays. We all know this. That's what he's most gifted at. It's a gift that no one asked for, but that he got. So
it helps, man. I was live to win a DFS tournament at one point because of Richie James. Now, if you go, if he'd caught that long catch, maybe I know.
Well, I won't. The Boomer Scoring League is also a distance scoring league, and let's just say,
oh my God, we've gone full circle.
This is not a joke. We swung a trade, me and my brother-in-law and I, for Daniel Jones because the other team could not use him. So we got Danny Dimes, the Dimesman.
Sign off, Pat.
Let's just say when they drop a 75-yard touchdown, your night becomes worse. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Your night becomes worse.
Not a winner, Daniel.
No, your night becomes much, much worse. We hope your day is much, much better for listening to the show. What we are assuming is Monday, your morning commute, maybe your afternoon commute. We have a lot of stuff on the site. We'll have news updates every day, I'm assuming, on Patrick Mahomes this week. We're going to have content coming up from Denny, probably from Kyle, right?
I mean, I'll be on the show. I am literally already working on like off-season series stuff because it takes.
That's true. You are grinding. I'm grinding an article for 2 weeks from now. I'm hoping I get it out 2 weeks from now. A seasons in review article that's already way, way, way too long. So Kyle and I will be back with Denny on Thursday. Patrick will be back in a few weeks after a much-deserved vacation. For Patrick Kerrane, for Kyle Dvorchak, I am Patrick Daugherty. Thank you for listening. We will be back later.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.